everybody. Welcome to Search the Scriptures today. We are on study 25. We are still in the Gospel of Mark, and study 25 in Mark covers chapter 12, verses 1 through 27. And we're going to cover three different questions today. The first one covers the first 12 verses. How does this parable clarify Christ's unique position in relation both to God and to the prophets? What does it teach us, A, about the character of the motives that lay behind his final reaction, and B, about his own expectation of vindication and victory? Second question, from verses 13 through 17, how does this incident reveal both the wisdom of Christ and the insincerity of his questioners? What important truth was Jesus trying to convey to them, and of what relevance is this to us? And the final question, from verses 18 through 27, the Sadducees were obviously attempting to make spiritual truth look ridiculous by interpreting it with the grossest of literalness. How does Christ show them their mistake, and on what grounds does he base the certainty of the resurrection? Now let's look at the Gospel of Mark, chapter 12, beginning with the very first verse. He then began to speak to them in parables. A man planted a vineyard, and he put a wall around it, and he dug a pit for the winepress, and he built a watchtower. Then he rented the vineyard to some farmers and went away on a journey. At harvest time he sent a servant to the tenants to collect from them some of the fruit of the vineyard. But they seized him, beat him, and sent him away empty-handed. Then he sent another servant to them, and they struck this man on the head and treated him shamefully. He sent still another, and that one they killed. He sent many others, and some of them they beat, others they killed. And he had one left to send, a son whom he loved. And he sent him last of all, saying, They will respect my son. But the tenants said to one another, This is the heir, come, let's kill him, and the inheritance will be ours. So they took him and killed him, and threw him out of the vineyard. What then will the owner of the vineyard do? He will come and kill those tenants, and give the vineyard to others. Haven't you read this scripture? The stone the builders rejected has become the capstone. The Lord has done this, and it is marvelous in our eyes. Then they looked for a way to arrest him, because they knew he had spoken the parable against them. But they were afraid of the crowd, so they left him and they went away. Later they sent some of the Pharisees and Herodians to Jesus to catch him in his words. And they came to him and said, Teacher, we know that you are a man of integrity. You aren't swayed by men because you pay no attention to who they are, but you teach the way of God in accordance with the truth. Is it right to pay taxes to Caesar or not? Should we pay or shouldn't we? But Jesus knew their hypocrisy. Why are you trying to trap me? He asked. Bring me a denarius and let me look at it. And they brought the coin, and he asked them, Whose portrait is this, and whose inscription? Caesar's, they replied. Then Jesus said, Give to Caesar what's Caesar's, and to God what is God's. And they were amazed at him. And then the Sadducees, who say there is no resurrection, came to him with a question. Teacher, they said, Moses wrote for us that if a man's brother dies and leaves a wife but no children, the man must marry the widow and have children for his brother. Now there were 7 brothers. The first one married and died without leaving any children. The second one married the widow, but he also died, leaving no children. It was the same with the third. In fact, none of the 7 left any children, and last of all, the woman died too. At the resurrection, whose wife will she be, since the 7 were married to her? And Jesus replied, Are you not in error, because you do not know the Scriptures or the power of God? When the dead rise, they will neither marry nor be given in marriage. They will be like the angels in heaven. Now about the dead rising, have you not read in the book of Moses, in the account of the bush, how God said to him, I am the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob? He is not the God of the dead, but of the living. You are badly mistaken. First question is from the first 12 verses. How does this parable clarify Christ's unique position in relation both to God and to the prophets, and what does it teach us? A, about the character of the motives that lay behind his final rejection, and B, about his own expectation of vindication and victory. Now this is the parable about the vineyard and the tenants, and finally the son being sent. Well, this parable clearly portrays Jesus as the Son of God, and the prophets as those that served on his behalf. Those other tenants were or other servants, were the prophets that had come before him. The motivation behind the killing of the son was one of selfishness and one of greed. The parable makes it crystal clear that the Lord will work vengeance against those that reject his son. Question number 2 from verses 13 through 17. How does this incident reveal both the wisdom of Christ and the insincerity of his questioners, and what important truth was Jesus trying to convey to them, and of what relevance is this to us? Well, this was clearly a trap. The fact that Jesus was asked to see a coin was really brilliant. As he turned the coin over in his hand, he saw the inscription written around the one side that said Tiberius Caesar, son of the divine Augustus, and then on the other side there was a picture of the Roman goddess of peace, and with the words high priest written there. So that was such a vivid illustration. The son of the divine and the prince of peace holding a Roman denarius in his hand. He basically said, this isn't mine. I'm not interested in it. Give it to the high priest to which it belongs. So at the same time, he says, give me what belongs to me. So what belongs to him? Everything. This incident really is Jesus at his very best in prime debate form. From verses 18 through 27, the Sadducees were obviously attempting to make spiritual truth look ridiculous by interpreting it with the grossest of literalness. How does Christ show them their mistake, and on what grounds does he base the certainty of the resurrection? Well, a Supreme Court justice nominee would never have refused to answer this question based on the grounds that they would not answer a hypothetical question, but they would have refused to answer it based on the fact that it might come before the Supreme Court, because this hypothetical was so ridiculous in nature, it was beyond the possibility of ever making it to a court of law. The 7 brothers dying, all 7 of them, the answer Jesus could have given was, why isn't this woman on trial? I mean, after all, she was obviously poisoning the well to have 7 husbands die on her. Jesus was right. He saw right through what was going on. He saw right through the charade, and he went right to the heart of the matter, as he always did, which was the resurrection of the dead. The Sadducees really made a calculated error in posing this question to Jesus, because it put the Pharisees back on his side. The Sadducees did not believe in the resurrection, yet the Pharisees did. So this left the 2 sides that were fighting against Jesus, this left them fighting each other instead of fighting him. And it's like a couple turning on the cop after one of them calls the police for a domestic violence dispute. That's what Jesus did here. Jesus turned the Pharisees and he turned the Sadducees on one another. Once again, Jesus did a brilliant job, as he always does, in getting right to the heart of the matter in this debate. Well, I hope this study has been a blessing to you. I hope God is blessing you in your life as you study his word. And it's my prayer that God would continue to richly bless the rest of your day. God bless.